Hi and welcome to the video. I'm Dame and this is Dame Over, and here are 20 tips to avoid being a noob in Battlefield 2042. We go from some very basic and simple stuff to some way more advanced tips, so there's hopefully something here for everybody. Right, let's get this thing going. Number 1, fix your settings. Make sure your settings work for you. Sensitivity, field of view, film grain, ADS FOV, you should account for all of these things when you're trying to make your life easier in Battlefield 2042. I've released a settings guide already for BF2042, so check that out if you want to find a baseline to work from, but remember, your settings and preferences are personal to you, so don't just copy someone else's. Tweak it as you go along to find the sweet spot that helps you. Number 2, awareness. The sound of gunfire, the direction of tracer bullets, the sound of footsteps, all of these things contribute to how much information you have at any given time, and in any FPS game, but especially one on the scale of 2042, information is key. Pay particular attention to glint from sniper scopes, and especially if one of your teammates nearby is running an unsuppressed weapon and starts firing, know that the enemy players are more than likely on the way to track them down. Number 3, read the minimap. Our previous point takes us neatly onto reading the minimap, something a lot of Battlefield players do incorrectly. There are a lot of ways to spot players in Battlefield 2042. There is audio spotting on unsuppressed weapons, recon drones, movement sensors, sentry guns, the list goes on. So make sure you're using this information that's appearing on that minimap and acting accordingly. Number 4, weaponry. Know what your weapon is good and bad at. While it is possible to use SMGs to tap fire a sniper at range, because currently all the weapons are pretty much a laser beam, damage drop-off plays a big role in what range to engage your targets at. So if you do spot someone at long range running in the open while you're using an SMG, trying to take them down might not be the best idea. Equally, if you're running an LMG and want to move close quarters, you might do better to swap to your sidearm. Pick your fights carefully, and if you don't have an advantage, make one with tip 5. Gadgets, traits, and specialties. This one is a bit of a learning curve because we have new gadgets and abilities we've not seen before in a Battlefield game, but equally as important to knowing how your gun works. Knowing what your abilities and gadgets can do to change the battle is just as important. Using C5 to open a wall to allow your team to push in, using the grappling hook to get above your opponents, or the EMG-X scanner for a wall hack can all change how a fight will go almost instantly. Get used to what you like to use and learn how to fight against your opponents if they're using something different. Number 6, use cover. Protect your blind side wherever possible. Channel Sandra Bullock. This goes for any game type, but especially all-out warfare where the danger can be anywhere at any time. If you've got the opportunity to put one side of your body against cover as you're moving, then do it. Even if it's soft cover like a bush hiding you from view, or a solid brick wall preventing you from being hit. Do your best to limit the angles you can be hit from where possible. Running out in the open should be avoided unless absolutely necessary. Number 7, pay attention to your squad. Squad revives are back in Battlefield 2042, so sticking together is important. The beta showed a very small number of players opting to play as Falk, the medic specialist, so relying on squad revives to keep you in the fight is a much more secure way to make sure you aren't taking deaths unnecessarily. Stick with your squad when you can, back them up in a fight, and clean up the enemies they have already damaged, and hopefully they'll do the same for you. Number 8, cover angles. If you see your teammates looking in one direction and you think the enemy might come from a different one, then cover that angle. If there's more than one entry point to a room, then make sure each door is covered. There's nothing worse than seeing 10 blueberries stacked up looking out the same doorway, only for them to all be shot in the back because they didn't think they'd be flanked. Always assume someone's trying to find a different way in that isn't the front door, and keep it covered. Number 9, check your corners. With the possibility of unspotting a player if they remain still or move very slowly in Battlefield 2042, it's very important to check your corners. Similar to covering angles, if you and a teammate push into a room and they go left, then you should absolutely go right. Make sure there isn't someone hiding in the corner waiting to shoot them in the back, and you don't get caught out by someone trying to steal an easy kill just because you didn't look both ways. Safety first, friends. Number 10, crosshair placement. Get used to having your crosshair sit at about chest height as often as possible when moving around. When running into potential danger, having good crosshair placement can save you the valuable time you need to acquire a target and return fire. This tip is all about reducing the amount of work you have to do to aim well. Number 11, dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge. Battlefield 2042 has some very smooth movement mechanics which can be used quickly and effectively. There's a whole toolkit available to help you gain an advantage over your opponent just with the movement. Learn how high you can jump up to mantle onto a surface, slide into a fight to get the drop on someone, crouch spam mid-fight if you can keep your aim accurate, and if you're using the grappling hook, make sure you have the high ground, Anakin. Movement skill goes hand in hand with gun skill in terms of player ability, so don't forget to use what you've got at your disposal. Number 12, positioning. I often get told on stream or in videos that the players I play against are paid actors because they've got no clue where I am. This is all down to positioning. For me, as a player with relatively average gun skill, positioning is the thing that ups my skill level and has resulted in good stats in previous Battlefield games. If you get yourself into a spot where you will definitely get the first shot off, then you hugely increase your chances of winning the gunfight. Shooting someone in the side or the back rather than just going head to head is by far the smarter option. This is where some of our other tips come into play, but it essentially boils down to this thought process. From which angle would it be hardest for them to fight back? Number 13. Flanking. Now, positioning brings us nicely onto flanking, one of the best ways to create those only in Battlefield moments. Like I mentioned before, the side or rear of an enemy is where they are weakest because they can't fight back. So, how can you get yourself into position where you have a clear line of sight on them? This also brings up tip number 5 and using cover effectively to get yourself behind the enemy team. But one big tip I want you to think about is not just firing at the first person you see, especially if they don't know where you are. Pick the most opportune moment to get as many kills as you can, and then empty your mag on them. Number 14, grenades. Grenades are not just a way to take down other players. Your grenade is a very useful tool if done correctly. Use your grenade to cover your approach to an enemy crouched in cover. Chuck it behind the cover to force them to move into the open. Grenades can also be used as anti-vehicle explosive, which in the beta was way too overpowered, but is still viable to force a vehicle to move away or as a finishing blow. And with the smart explosives from Sundance, if you use their grenades properly, then you can cause some real problems for the enemy team. Number 15, death from above. While this is sometimes a real dumb tactic, if you can find a way to parachute or wingsuit on top of an enemy's position to take them out, then go for it. It's notoriously difficult to target enemies high above you in FPS games, so being above your opponent will only make it more difficult for them. Plus, you have a wingsuit, so you can shout stuff like, "I'm the Batman," as you fly in. Number 16, jump, slide, and wobble. If you get shot at, make yourself as hard to hit as possible. You'll see this tactic being used by a lot of players that are caught out in the open and trying to avoid fire. If you can jump, slide, and quickly change direction side to side when under fire, it will be really difficult for the enemy to track you. In previous Battlefield games, jump, spam, and quick sliding movements seem to break the hitbox a little bit, and this still seems to be the case in Battlefield 2042, although I could be proved to be wrong. Number 17, extra ammo in the plus system. You have extra ammo available to you in your pocket just by using the plus system. Each primary weapon has more than one ammo type and can be switched to on the fly with the plus system. Your ammo for each ammo type is separate, so if you do run out of ammo with one type, you can switch straight to the next without the need for a resupply. Number 18, change the range. Again, use the plus system. You can change how easily you can track targets up close or at range by adding or removing certain sights. If you're at medium range, whack a hollow sight on. Moving into close quarters, go with the iron sights. There are lots of possibilities to tweak your weapon on the go, so don't forget to use them. Number 19, anti-vehicle gameplay. If you find your team is taking a lot of deaths from vehicles, don't be afraid to switch up your loadout to take them down. There is anti-air and anti-ground vehicle capabilities available to you, so don't just keep taking deaths and losing the match. Use something that goes boom to change the tide of the match. And finally, tip number 20, don't just run in. Sprinting constantly will get you killed. Not only will your footsteps make more noise, if you're running into a fight full pelt, you won't have time to get set up and you're reducing your chances of winning. Know when to slow down and when to push with speed. So that brings us to the end of our 20 tips on how to not be a noob in Battlefield 2042. If you found any of those tips useful, you think I missed something that's very important to you, make sure you jump down into the comments and you let me know what it is. I'm going to take this time to remind you guys that I do stream on an almost daily basis on YouTube and on Twitch. So if you want to go and follow me over on Twitch as well as dropping a sub on YouTube, that'll be massively appreciated, and hopefully I see you live. Don't forget to hit that like button if you had a good time. Dropping a sub would be brilliant as well, and I will catch you in the next one. That's game over. Peace.